Hey there, everybody. I am thrilled to be here and happy to see you. It is Seth Apter. I am coming to you, where else? From my studio in NYC. Welcome, everybody. It is an exciting day. Why? Well, because it's a demo day and I get to spend time creating with you, for you, and really enjoying the connection and the community. So we are going to do what we always do. We are going to welcome everybody for a few moments before we move on into the heart of the matter. I do hope everybody's well. I want to say thank you in advance to Janine, who is my team, and she is here. She will be answering questions. She will be helping out, summarizing what I say, and adding links where appropriate. Thank you all for coming. If you're here live, love that you spend it with me. It makes me feel like we are sitting in the same room together, hanging out, creating things together, and just forging that community, which is so important. And if you're watching on recording, that is so cool too, because that means that you've taken time out of your day or your evening or your night, and you have decided to spend it with me. And I am endlessly appreciative of that. If you are here live, many of you have already done this, but leave a comment. I want to know that you're here. I want to know where you're from. I want to see who the crew is today. And I welcome you all. I'm going to go back in and spend a few minutes welcoming everybody. More specifically, we are only on YouTube today. This is the first where we are not streaming to Facebook as well as YouTube. I am fully forging ahead with YouTube only for these kinds of events because of Facebook's shift with their policy for maintaining live videos for any length of time on the site. Basically, you do a live video, it disappears a month later. And I want people to have access now and forever. All right, so again, welcome everybody. So good to see you. Hey, Chris, Bonnie, Cheryl, Karen, Walter, Sherry, Anna Sophia, Beth, Rhonda, Linda, Lori, Pam, Carolyn, Kyle, Shirley, Faith, Fifi, Wendy, Paul, Barbara, Julala, Pam, Nancy, Abby, Joy, Ann. I mean, everybody's there. Stephanie, Shunted One, hello, Annie, Ann, Ingrid, Grace, Beverly, Tiffany, Karen, Nicole, Story Cat, Christy, Annie, Jennifer, Nanette, AA, Isabel, Shaz, another Anne, a Linda, another Linda, Holly, Leah, Barbara, Shelley, Jane, 46 Marano, Krista, Amy, Tracy, Jenny, Yvonne, Lori. Wow, this is a power crew. I mean, forget it. If we were here together, we would generate so much creative energy and excitement. We could fuel the world. Seriously. I also want to say thanks a million to people coming from all over, because just without even seeing comments that you left, I know that there were people here from Canada, from the US, from Italy, from France, from the UK, I believe from the Netherlands. So there may be some other countries. Please, if you're in any other country other than the one I mentioned, let me know. From Lavinia, love that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So some of you are noticed. Oh, Germany's in the house. Excellent. I want to mention that some of you are noticing the wall behind me. We have Barbados too. And Sweden. This is so good. This is international. So many of you know I've been working on this wall, inspiration wall installation for the longest time. And I will say that it's taken me longer this year because I've been so busy and was traveling, but I had so much enjoyed this last maybe week plus to just spend time off and on, day and night, adding, subtracting, moving, and it's not 100% complete, but you guys are seeing it more complete than anyone else has seen it because the shots I've shown online are just little snippets, but that's what it's looking like now. And there's more to do. And as soon as there's a completed wall, I will take photographs and do some videos and show them online. Mexico's in the house too, but I'm really, 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 really happy with how it's come out. And there are definitely some themes that emerged, which I will share with you. And we can go from there. Hey, Karen, thank you so much. Hey, David, great from the Netherlands. So, yeah, we are an international crew, which I love. And I know so many states from the US are also here. So, I've said this before, one of these days, I'm going to keep my promise and I'm going to get some form of map. Maybe it'll need to be a map that's not mounted on the wall, but a map maybe on a board that I can slide away. And I'm just going to start marking, push pinning, I don't know, rubber stamping, stenciling, I don't know what, to show the locations of people who have come on these lives. It's always so exciting for me to see where you are from. I want to welcome anyone who's new. There may be some new people here who haven't been to any of my lives before, or maybe are less familiar with me and my work. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And of course, a million thank yous to all my good old friends who are coming back for more. Oh, I just had an idea. Janine, write this down, please. A map. Maybe I need to do some form of like epically large rubber stamp map that somehow can be used, maybe some die cut map that somehow can be used to create this sense of where you've traveled or where people online have come from when they visit. I think I might do that. Yes. Joanne from Connecticut. Everybody welcome 46 Murano. Joanne from Connecticut, her first time. I love it. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate that. Love the fact that Julie is quilting with my fabric. Thank you a million times over. And Janine, of course, already told me she made a note. And Wendy's all about that map, which is so cool. Hey, Marilyn, and everybody else who I might have missed when I was engaged in my excited babble about making things. Yes, of course. Maybe, Janine, before we do this map, stamp, or die cut set, I need to get on those t-shirts that I've been promising since early in the pandemic. Yeah, maybe that would be first. Okay. All right. So, first of all, just thank you all. It is really a pleasure to see you. You know me, or if you know me, you know that I am forever grateful for this community. And um, we need community and we need to stick together and we need um, to get our energy um, just completely I don't know the right word, but we need to just harness our energy so that we can propel forward with all the things that we need to do in terms of maintaining our sense of creative beings. Just so important. Hey, Nan, thank you so much. Welcome, welcome. Appreciate you joining me for the first time. And Jackie also for the first time from Blackpool, UK. Love that. Oh, Paula, also your first time, but won't be your last. Love that. Welcome, Jim. Um, yeah. Engaged. Good word, Beth. So if you don't know me, I can be all over the place. I'll always get back to it, but what I do just brings me so much joy and excitement that I can't really contain myself. I'm actually quite a steady, stable, calm, grounded person, even within the joy and excitement that I find. But just talking to you guys, seeing and feeling your energy, knowing that all these new people somehow are joining the community and discovering all of us, it just puts me on an endless spiral of joy and excitement. And I certainly hope that that's contagious because it's just like yeah. Angela, welcome and thank you. All right, let's see. There's other new timers. Yes, let's see. Hey, Kelly. Thanks for the thumbs up. I guess Janine said everybody should thumbs up. Janine's behind the scenes, doing all the things that I forget to do. Like she just left a link for my Seth Apter Creative Community Facebook group. So in case you are not a member, we're close to 8,000 strong, 7,600, something like that. Really supportive, wonderful group, free community on Facebook. So thanks, Janine, for putting the word out, because I always get too wrapped up with the excitement of it all to focus on that kind of stuff. Yeah, so let's see. Hey, Margaret, Karen, Ka from, I believe from Germany, and Linear. Yeah, I think there's some Linear there. Let's see. Hey, Judy, Tracy, Deborah, first time, love it. Thank you. You like my post on Instagram? So appreciate that. So appreciate that. I really love some of social media. And I do love to be able to share with all of you on social media and see what you are all doing. Lois here as well. And Nanette, thanks a million. My paints are the absolute best. I appreciate that. Those are big words, but I am going to be demoing with paint today, so we'll see what happens. All right, Janine, got to write this down because I aim to please. Wish I'd sell some black paper. Thank you for adding that. I don't know what I'd do without Janine. All right, so, oh, didn't mean to press on that, but I'm glad I did. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, so Shirley is getting me back on track. Thank you. She says, I just got some Fresco paints, gel played out, getting ready to play. So let's talk about that. We are going to play today. This is a demo day. I am here most second and fourth Tuesdays for Mixed Media Tuesday. It's going to be now going forward on YouTube only. It's at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. It's always free, these demos. And some of these Mixed Media Tuesdays are not demos. They might be sharing new product. They might be taking you through a walk through the city. They might be talking about my board, questions and answers, chats. It could be anything. But today it's a demo. And I do want to make mention that you can assume it's going to be every second and fourth Tuesday of the month for the entire year. But there are exceptions for when I travel. So just a couple announcements as I settle down from my initial creative high of opening my doors to you all, and then we'll move into the demo, and I'll give you a heads up before we do the demo what I'm going to do. So if you do want to go along with me and work with me, you can have some of those things ready. Okay. So today, first announcement, I'm here, as are you, and we're going to be doing this demo. If you're watching on recording, of course, this could be like 2035. So, welcome to all our younger selves then. Tomorrow, I get to go online again. I've been invited to take over the Bella Crafts Publishing YouTube page platform. So if you don't know Bella Crafts Publishing, maybe Janine can find that link. She probably already has it to the interview that I'm doing tomorrow. So if you click on it now, you can sign up for notification and be reminded of it. But Bella Crafts Publishing is really an amazing group I've been connected with off and on for many years. I'm going to be specifically speaking with Ann Butler, who's a big part of that group. And they do a lot of online publishing and other things as well. But they have these periodic free and also paid for online magazines, which are great. So you guys should all check it out. And it's 3 p.m. Eastern. It's not on my YouTube. It's on the Bella Crafts Publishing YouTube platform. Let's lift everybody up. If you've never been there before, when you go over there, follow them. Let's again, all lift each other up. And we're going to be basically talking about all things mixed media. And really what she asked me, there's no plan. Like I have no clue what we're going to talk about except mixed media, except I know that she wants me to share upcoming things. So you never know what secrets I might reveal. That's tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. All right, a couple more things. Later on in March, the 7th, 8th, and 9th. If you haven't seen it already online, I am holding my first flea market of the year. If you've been to some of my online flea markets before, you know what they're all about. If you haven't, it's like one big party. So it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, March 7th, 8th, and 9th. Really briefly, because more information will be posted later, at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. each of those days, all 3 of those days, there will be new products added into the shop. And the products are all flea market finds, and they are amazing. At some point, I'll do a preview, but I have been storing up. Janine has been buying things all over the Eastern Seaboard from her visits to flea markets and things like that. I got some great stuff. I got a lot of international stuff. I got a lot of paper and ephemera. I have everything, just everything. So it'll be the daily drops, 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. And at 3 p.m. Eastern, all 3 days, I will be right here on YouTube live with Janine, and we will be reviewing and sharing and showing some of the items that were put in the shop for the flea market. So you can kind of see it live, and you don't have to buy, you can just come for the inspiration. So I am really, 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 really psyched about that. I mean, really good stuff, like amazing, amazing. Can I say amazing one more time? Amazing. Then the last thing I just want to, I do want to add that the other thing is that there will be a select grouping of items from the shop, from the Emporium section, that will also run 25% off for the 3 days of the flea market. And if you don't know anything about my shop, the Emporium section is the section that includes all the products and items that were designed by designers or artists or companies not affiliated with me. So a lot of my shop is my products, my stuff, but the Emporium is all the other great stuff that I source out and find for you, because I love doing that, and it's pretty good stuff. Let's see. I'm going to make one more announcement. Just review the comments. If you're here on recording and you're wondering if I'm ever going to get to the demo, I'm going to say yes at about the 20-minute mark. But you get me if you come here, and part of me is connecting with you. All right, so the last announcement is just that 2 weeks from today on March 11th, is the next Mixed Media Tuesday. It's the second Tuesday of the month in March, and yes, there will be another live. So I don't know if it'll be a demo or not, but there will be a live. So mark it in your calendars, and eventually there'll be a YouTube button to press so that you can be notified. And then just as a heads up, 2 weeks later, there will not be a live, because I will be spending a month, almost a month, a whole month in Australia. And I will definitely do lives from there, but I won't be able to manage to do it at the same time. All right, so let's just do a couple commenty things. If you can't handle the comments and you just want to see the demo, now's the time to get a quick snack or cup of coffee or iced tea, and then run back. All right, so thank you all for the positive reactions to the flea market. I know many of you are fleas yourself, so I appreciate that. And Angela, thank you. Thank you. Take my time and talk. I can't help it. And Karen, appreciate it. I can wave to her. She's also in Manhattan. I love the hand-sewn textiles. We'll go back for more of those to make journal covers. I will have more of those for sure. I want to make mention that the amazing Debbie Lightwood is here. I don't know if she's still here. This wasn't that long ago. She said, lovely seeing all the lovely comments for such a talented and amazing individual. I'm spotlighting Debbie because for those of you who don't know Debbie, she's behind the scenes, but she is my main contact at Sizzix. And I think most of you know, and if you don't, you do now, that I am now a licensed designer with Sizzix, and we'll be releasing our first collection June 2nd, unless something shifts. But Debbie has been amazing. She says she couldn't have done it without me, but honestly, I couldn't have done it without her. I hope she's still here to hear this. She is just a phenomenon and a big part of why I have had such a pleasure, an endless amount of pleasure working with Sizzix so far. Let's see. Hey, Debbie. Hey, Elizabeth. Hey, Kana. Lots more people have joined. Elizabeth from Salt Lake City. Hey, Kelly. Yeah, we all love a good secret, right? Hey, Diane. Shelly, thanks for joining me. Okay. All right, so we are at the 20-minute mark, so we're going to shift for a second, but Karen wants to know, speaking of scissors, about a new big shot. Have you designed words or images for dies? I think it's safe for me to say yes to both words and images. Let me put it this way. If you know me and you know my style, you know my stencils, you know my stamps, you know all that kind of stuff, you're going to know my dies and other things that are being released as well. So thanks for asking, Karen. And I love that you just got a new big shot. And hey, Barbara, so glad you guys are excited about Sizzix and the flea market sale. Um, and I love Elizabeth's attitude. She says she can't wait because there are things she could not live without. And isn't that the truth? All right. Oh, Isabel, I am so sorry. It is true that right now I am only shipping to the US and Canada. And I will tell you that for some different reasons lately, I've had to ship a few packages internationally. And I will tell you, mm, hasn't been easy. So maybe one day, but right now, for so many reasons, I just can't ship internationally. And I apologize. But please come to the flea market for inspiration because there's going to be some really cool things. Hey, Glenda. What is the flea market? Surely, basically, it's a good question. The flea market is, I basically spend a lot of my time searching online and in person. And Janine, who's my team, she also searches online, but mostly in person to find flea market items that I then put in my shop and sell. And I don't sell them in a random way, like, just have a section. It's always a big event and a big party with lots of live events and specials and just to me, some really fun, exciting things. I always like to try to make my live events as if we're all together in real life. It's so important to me. I never want to just have it be one way. And in fact, that's one of the reasons why I don't do that many recorded videos anywhere for classes, for YouTube, for Facebook, for anything. It's because it's this interaction, the live interaction that's so important to me. And many of you, for many reasons, can't always go to something live. Maybe it's affordability, maybe it's location, maybe it's health issues, maybe it's your life responsibilities, whatever it is. And so I do always try to make these events as if they're real. Like I literally, when I'm looking right now, I literally am seeing all you people. Like I know you see me, and I know I can't really see you, but I see you. I just assume you're all sitting here. And yes, there's a lot of people here today, so the room is very crowded. And Debbie is still here, so thank you, thank you, thank you. Bring on the grunge. I'm with you on that, Jim. Got some good grunge coming. This is a tough one. Janet mentions about Joanne closing and hoping maybe to bring back business to small businesses. It's just a rough period of time for so many industries, but particularly because I'm in it, the arts and crafts industry, from the point of view of designers, manufacturers, retailers, it's a struggle. It really is, and it's probably only going to be a bigger struggle before it isn't. And that's one of the reasons why I always feel so fortunate and indebted to all of you, because without all of you, none of this could work. I get to do what I do because of all of you, and it's not necessarily come down to money. Like it's a bigger picture of things for me than just money. Of course, I like when you buy my products and you buy from my shop. That's part of how I earn my living to pay for this space in New York City. But there's so much more that we all can offer each other, and that's the spirit and the community and the connection and the lifting and the love and the positivity. And I'm all about that. I just think there's more than enough for everybody, and we can all lift each other up and we can all improve. It's to me, and then I'll get off the soapbox. And I really promise I'll demo. It'll be about the 25-minute mark. It's a simple equation. It's just integrity, and it's just empathy and kindness. And if that's what we all have together, we are unstoppable. And I mean that. Can't say that enough. All right. So, with that in mind, you know I'm getting serious because I am going to switch the camera. Here we go. Blank page. Who doesn't like a blank page? Probably plenty of people. And thank you for the positive response to my thoughts just there. Okay, so today's all about going back to the basics with a twist. And when I say that mainly because what I want to do is just work with mixed media layers. And honestly, no matter what I did, I literally could call every single demo I've ever done mixed media layers. There's some questions here about products and stuff. I will come back to those. Janine, if you could make a note, or those of you who ask questions that I don't answer, if you stay for a while, please ask me later. I'll open up questions. All right, so we are here today for a demo. It is a demo on mixed media layers. And what you're going to need is, if you want to play along, a very dirty gel plate, but I'll let you in even if it's clean, and a brayer. You're going to need some paint, acrylic paint. We're going to be using dye sprays. Then theoretically, because who knows, this might take me 2 hours just to do that, we're going to be using some rubber stamps. We're going to be using some ink pads. And Janine is probably laughing because she knows that I always plan for about 3 hours or 4 hours in an hour or 90-minute demo. But theoretically, we're going to be using some embossing powder, and we're going to be using some stencils. All right, so you want to take bets on how little I get through? I just hope I stop talking and I actually get to using the first item. Oh, and you can't go anywhere without your Stabilo alls. My favorite mark makers. If you don't know what that is, then you will when I use them. And yes, heavy cream. Okay, so I have been starting most of my work for quite a number of years now with a jelly plate rather than a paintbrush. And I'm not changing that today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my jelly plate out in my brayer, and I'm going to get some paper to work on. I'm going to work on a rectangle. So I am choosing to work on Smoothie. Smoothie is a paper that I've been using lately, and the last few demos I've used it, people have been pretty excited about it. So I wanted to bring it back to show more people. Smoothie is a beautiful cardstock that's made by Paper Artsy. It's actually made in France, so that just means it's better. C'est vrai, mon ami. And it is the smoothest cardstock. It is completely different than a traditional cardstock. It comes in 2 weights. This is 340 GSM, which is great for backgrounds. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's making that fun noise. And it also comes in 240 GSM, which is great if you're making collage paper to tear up. But usually when I work in a background, I use a heavier weight. And it is just very smooth. I do sell this in my shop. I'm out of the collage, but it's on order. And in fact, I think it might have been delivered today. So come back tonight or tomorrow to the shop. And I have a few of the background ones, and I should have more of those in this order that I just got. And then the other thing I'm going to have is my journal. I just have my journal next to me when I work at all times. It's definitely a work in progress. And it's a work in progress, as you can see, because I don't usually start and finish a journal page all at once. It's all more about this notion that I'm going to build a page just by using it as a place to put some excess stuff. All right, we're going to answer a few questions, so hang with me. Where in the shop are the tints listed? So, no, a lot of people seem to have a hard time finding the tints and other supplies. So, if you go to the section that is labeled the Emporium, that is all the items that are in the shop that are not designed by me. And there's multiple sections. There's fabric, there's paper, there's adhesives, there's washi tape, there's wood, there's metal, there's lifestyle, and there's a section called supplies. So things like embossing pads or ink pads, glue, paper, all those kinds of things, that's in supplies. And the tints are in supplies as well. And thank you about the book being priceless. Another question or comment. I've fallen in love with bamboo paper. It is an amazing product. I have used that as well. Carol asked, is this paper similar to Bristol? I'm going to kind of say no. I haven't used Bristol paper in years, but it's it's just a very, very, very soft and smooth cardstock. You know how you go into a fabric store and you touch fabric and some fabric has a really beautiful hand? That's what this paper has. It's just so beautiful. Okay, so let's go back. So I am going to finally start. You guys are the most patient crew on the face of the earth because, you know, we've already been live for the last 7.5 hours and I haven't done anything for my demo. All right, so I'm going to start the way I always start. I'm going to get out some acrylic paint, and this should be familiar to many of you now, but the way I usually start is by choosing 2 colors, and I put what I call a double pour on the gel plate. And I want to just share a couple thoughts. One is that I'm starting with opaque paint. I very often start opaque and then move to translucent. This is, if you're not familiar, Paper Artsy Fresco Finish Chalk Acrylics. These are my colors, my line. These are opaque. I love the fact that they actually tell you that, so you can clearly differentiate the opaque from the translucent. And they are fast drying, they're very matte, they're almost like gesso. They're great in a journal because as soon as they dry to the touch, they are, you're able to close your journal, they'll never stick together. And then also any pen or marker writes over them. First thing I'm gonna do is just use my brayer and just add some excess so I don't waste that to my journal. And then I'm gonna pull this print and I'm gonna do it with a quick swipe and a pull. And I got that. So simple. It because this is so matte and flat, it almost has to feel like a fresco wall, like an old fresco wall. When I pull from the paper, I'm sorry, when I pull paper from the gel plate, I do it in one of 2 ways. I either do a very light touch that I call a kiss, or I burnish it and wait for it to dry and then pull it up. One of the things I want to just make mention is that in case you're interested in colors, I should let you know this is steel gray and tundra. Always putting 2 colors. I like the random mix. I never clean my plate because I get all those other colors on it. I tend to stick to a palette I'm comfortable with, but I think I'm going to do a demo soon about stepping out of your comfort zone, and I'm going to choose colors that are so not me, just to see what happens. And going back to the idea of the kiss, I'm going to just, in different sections, just do a quick swipe and pull. And I do that for a few reasons. You get a much softer, more broken impression. And also you end up leaving paint on your gel plate. And I love that because eventually I want all those layers there so I can pull one amazing print. So you see kind of what I'm doing? I'm sort of building areas that are blocks. I'm building areas that are almost linear line-like. Shift directions and keep doing that. We'll see if it dries. Once it's too dry, you're not going to get much of anything, and it's pretty dry. And I am just building up those layers. And bonsoir. Bonsoir, Patricia. Comment ça va, mon ami? We have Patricia from France. Let's see. Cheryl says it's very similar to Bristol Smooth by Canson and Strathmore Yellow Cover, but it's softer. Great. Okay. Good to know. Thank you. I'm choosing my colors pretty specifically. I like to have a base that includes tones that are very similar, hues and tones that are very similar colors, so that there's some consistency at the base. And then as I build more and more layers, I begin to add a lot more variety. And one of the things I always do is I work in layers. And layers is about contrast. So if I'm working and I'm getting something that I'm going to here call pretty muted, and I'm going to call it dark, then I'm going with something that's a little bit lighter and maybe a little bit brighter. So I'm going like a sandwich of dark, light, or matte, shiny, matte, shiny. I feel like I have to move my hand so you see I'm still here. Or muted, bright, muted, bright. And the color that I used here was agave. And for the life of me, I can't remember the other one. So someone's going to have noticed. So sorry, Janine, can't add that. So you see, I'm just kissing the page. And as I'm kissing the page, I am building, maybe I only used agave, I'm not sure. I am just building those layers. And one of the things that's great about the gel plate, if you've never used one, it's just endless fun. And it works perfectly with my concept of more is more, but little by little. So I believe more is more, no question. But it's not about just slapping it all on. It's about bringing those layers in slowly, slowly, slowly. Yes, and it was tundra. Maybe? Let's go with that it was tundra and agave. Yeah. Or steel gray and agave. You know what? It almost doesn't matter. But it does matter, of course. Eddie, I want to welcome you as well. First timer here. This is so cool. All right, so just notice that this has the same tones and colors here because they are the same, but because I applied it with a brayer, it has a very different feel. This almost looks a little bit like wood or like a tree trunk almost, and this is, clearly different. But the excitement is that I'm going to be building over this. So I am going to bring in a little bit of heavy cream, which is kind of my go-to neutral, especially for the gel plate. I don't want too much. I just want a little bit. And I'm rolling it out on its own. And I just want to, I know you can't believe that this could be even softer, but I just want to add a little bit of the lightness to it because I'm going to go over it now with some other colors. And it's almost, when you do that, it's almost like a dry brush. And a dry brush is a wonderful and a fascinating and an underused technique to do in between layers. So, it doesn't take away from that. It just adds this little bit of cloudy haze. All right, so normally I would spend a lot more time on layers. I mean, I would just keep doing this with opaque. But because we're doing this as a demo online, I do want to get through as many techniques as possible. And I'm going to shortchange some of the layers, knowing I'm going to be adding some more. So what am I going to do next? I'm going to go in the opposite direction of this. So I look at this, and to me, this is more of a cool tone. And it does have a little bit of warmth in the tundra, but it's really more cool. So what I'm going to do I am going to go and add some warm tones. And they're going to be kind of in this family. This one's a little cool, but I like that for some contrast. And I do want to make mention that these are all translucent, and that is key. And I don't always go into translucent so quickly, but I usually, once I'm happy with my lower layers, begin to add translucence. So I change the color and the dynamic and the shadow and the depth and the shading, but I don't make all that work disappear. You know, part of mixed media is being comfortable covering. And one of the tricks of covering is using the right materials so you literally don't obliterate, you just add to it. So I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to do some rusty and smoked paprika together. And there was a comment there about my use of brown, using it without overtaking, and I appreciate that. It's a comfort zone skill. So we all have our go-to palettes, and we seem to be very able and comfortable to create effects with those palettes that when we use the same process but a different color, we're a little hesitant. We don't just dive in and go. And it's a little bit of overthinking. And I think that's one of the reasons why, if you're not comfortable, say with using brown or a lot of brown, you end up perhaps not really loving the results, and then you don't stick with brown and you never get comfortable. Okay, so we're just going to roll these out. I do want to make mention that as you're doing this, I could roll like that and stop, and you'll see is that some of the colors mixed and some of them kind of stayed separate. That's an option, but for me, I tend to like to fully mix, or mix as much as it will allow me to. And see how that warmed that up on the gel plate. And then I'm going to kiss again. And I'm just going to bring in a touch of warmth. And you can just see the dramatic difference between that area and that area, side by side, but nothing has been covered, even though it's been covered. Now, this is going to dry quite fast. Part of that is because I'm using Paper Artsy, but also because I put a very thin layer of paint. I find that people are over pourers. I mean, the New Yorker in me has a hard time saying that. You know, like coffee dog pourer, over pourers. You put too much paint out. And when you do that, you get a very different effect. So again, more is more, but little by little. All right, so I'm going to bring in a little bit more rusty. And I'm going to veer from this idea of always having to have two colors, because really you don't. So I'm going to spread this out a bit more and get, while it's still wet, pull up. Yeah, love that. And when you go to the area that's white, you're going to get the full-on bright color. And that's one of the nice things about leaving some white from the paper as you work, because that's going to fill in completely differently than when you cover something. And that's going to always lend itself to areas of light or bright, which is beautiful, you know, to have that illumination. All right, so you can see where I'm going with this, and I'm going to continue with some toffee apple and purple majesty. I did an online class yesterday with a group, and I was sharing the fact that when this paint came out, the folks at Paper Artsy didn't want me to call it purple majesty. They wanted me to call it purple majesty and spell it Poiple, a la I mean, I don't really hear it that much, but my New York accent, which again, I only hear when I say things like dog or coffee or purple. All right, so we have toffee apple, purple majesty, translucent paints. And this is getting warmer and getting a little brighter, but it's still pretty muted. So we're going to add some of this, which is going to give it a little bit of a jolt Oh yeah, yeah. I like that. Okay. And now I'm beginning. Oh yeah. So you see where I'm going with this? As I said earlier, the lower layers. Oh, look at that. Look at that. I mean, I am just. I can just cut that off that corner and say that's what I demoed and leave from this demo happy. But you guys might not leave happy. But this is what I'm talking about. That I have the base that's all the same. However, what I am now doing is adding these different areas of different colors. All right, plus I'm building that on the plate, and you know I'm going to pull that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one more color, I think, and that's going to be the one color I sell in my shop that's a favorite that's actually not mine, and it's Inky Pool. This is such a gorgeous color. Looking at it in the jar, the bottle, it doesn't quite look exactly as it is, but it is spectacular. So I'm finding a paintbrush just so I can kind of show you what it really looks like, because it's just so beautiful. I'll just put it right here because it just looks dark. But look at that. Now I'm not using any water here. And I don't know if it reads. It's lighter than it reads there. It is just so beautiful. So I am going to put a little bit of that on and add even more contrast to what I've done here. You know what? I'm going to actually put a little bit more. Sometimes in my quest not to be an over pourer, I under pour, but I'd rather do that. All right, let's see. Let's go in this corner here. Okay, you know what? It's drying very fast today, which is telling me I need to do more. Eddie says blue paints dry faster too. I guess it's the pigment, so that's good to know. So let me, there we go. Yeah, see what I'm picking up there? I don't know. I'm picking up what I'm putting down. Oh, okay. Much stronger than anticipated, but I'm glad it did that because that happens. You know, you can kind of see I'm blending everything, but here it just completely took over. Okay, so this added definitely some richness, some grunge, some depth, but it definitely made it darker and less bright. How can I brighten it up? The only way I can brighten it up is by using something that's opaque, and that is what I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do is first do this. I'm going to put this aside for 1 second, my friends. I'm going to pull this now, and I'm going to pull it on this journal page. Jane asks, if you didn't want the dark patch, would you layer over? Absolutely, and I'm going to do that right after I pull this print. 100%. I might also collage over it. You know, if there's an area that I don't like on a piece, let's say this was my final background, and I was going to collage. Let's see what I have here collage-wise. I don't really have collage paper near me, but yeah, I have this smack. I would put that there, and I'm good. You know, I've covered it, but I'm going to work over it because a lot of times when I'm painting, I don't want a collage, but I need to work over it. A few other things. I just want to say hi to Glenda. Thank Eddie for saying hi to everybody. That's so good. And I so appreciate this comment. I love listening to an artist that gets excited with his choices and what he produces. That is me. It is great to hear and see. Thanks for making my day. Love the inky color. So appreciate that. All right, so I am going to pull this print. How am I going to pull it? I'm going to pull it with heavy cream, which again is my go-to for anything neutral, but also, ooh, and some people like the dark patch. Vicky Booten in the house. Hey, Vicky. Okay, you guys, if you don't know Vicky, anytime Vicky pops in, I always talk about how amazing she is. So if you don't know Vicky, and I'm sure you do, but if you don't, look, maybe Janine can put, or Vicky can put her link. You got to follow her, and you got to follow her on YouTube because she is an uber generous artist who spends hours doing online live demo videos on YouTube. She has amazing products, and happy to call her a friend. Okay, so we're back to heavy cream. I am going to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to go on my journal. I'm actually going to go right on this. Now, I have no idea what I'm going to get on here because when you pull a print off a jelly plate, it's upside down. So the top layer is the lower layer. I could turn my plate over and look, and I would actually see what I'm going to get. But I'd rather have the secret reveal. So I am just going to go here and I am going to burnish. Whoop, I've left Vicky on there for quite a long time. All right, so if you're just joining, we've made that with opaque and translucent paint layers. We've made this with just sort of leftovers. That's in my journal. And we are now pulling a print and going to use the plate again with whatever's left. And let me make mention that just like Vicky, I love a secret reveal. I think one of the reasons why these gel plates are so addictive is because there's literally a reveal and an endorphin high over and over and over and over and over again. And it just doesn't get better than that. It doesn't even have to be good. It's just exciting to see and wonder and hope. And then when you get that one amazing one, it's like worth all the effort. All right, I am stopping because I just need to move on. And my print is going to be a partial print because I was burnishing at the edges and not burnishing in the center and not really at the edges. And that is what I got. And it doesn't look anything like what I had because it was upside down, right? Okay. All right, I'm going to flip this. I want a relatively fresh gel plate for what I'm going to do next, because what I'm going to do next is shift this up a bit. So I'm going to just go in with some lighter colors. I also have some dye sprays left over on here. And what's going to happen, because I didn't clean the dye sprays off, I just realized is that they're going to mix with whatever colors I have on the plate. So we're not going to get a pure color, but am I okay with that? I am. You can see it's already shifting a bit. Okay, so I'm going to go in. All right, so you see how I've already kind of semi-obliterated that patch. And simply and dramatically, when I say dramatically, I don't mean like, oh my God, the drama. I just mean because it was just so easy, that's completely embedded in there. And for me, I kind of like that better. And one of the things I really love is, see that line? I mean, this is just asking to be folded to be a book page or book cover. Just love that line. Because I do love my lines. All right. All right, so what's going to happen next? This is pretty dark. So I'm going to do what I call an adjustment. And for me, an adjustment is the periodic times when I do think. Because I always say thinking is the depth of creativity, but you do have to think every so often. Artist loved the patch, and she's like, no, don't do it. And now she says she likes it now too. This is the thing. You have to be fearless. You have to be comfortable covering something you love so that you can push forward with more layers and more ideas so that you can take your creative mind to the places that it really needs to go. If you hold back and get too attached, you never find out. You just will never find out how far you can go as a creative artist. All right, so, but again, I do want to lighten this up a little bit, but I want to lighten it not in a hazy way. I want to lighten it in a little bit of a stronger way. So this is going to be a mixed bag, my friends. We're going to find out if this works. I am using this now, my gel plate, as a palette rather than as a gel plate. And I'm going to go ahead and I am going to get some of this white paint on my brayer. And I'm going to do, again, what I call kind of a kiss or a skip. And I'm going to, yeah, I'm going to do some of that in some different directions where I bring in some of that lightness. Remember I said about the white coming from the original page? I am adding a bit more of that because I feel like this has just gotten a little too dark for what I'm going to do next. And I want to make sure there's some areas that are light enough that will allow what I'm bringing in the next step to show. Because if it's all too dark and anything I do next is translucent, it's just not even going to read. All right, so how are we with this? Let's just stop for a second. I'm really curious just to hear feedback about what you think of where we got with these layers. Still, my favorite part is that bit right there. I love that. And in fact, you know, probably while I'm going to wait and hear what you have to say, I think I'm going to bring just a touch more of the smoked paprika in and brighten and lighten a bit. I'm going to clean this white opaque paint off. Otherwise, this is just going to become opaque. Eddie says, I love how the last 2 layers of paint made the piece more cohesive. I agree. You know, sometimes when we're frustrated and we think it's not going where we want it to go, as I always say, we're 1 layer away from magic. You're always 1 layer away from magic. I'm cleaning this, by the way, off camera so we can get some of this, a little bit of light bright. Do you see how it added that right there? And let's bring some of that to that corner. Yeah. I love that. I love that. I really do. Okay. All right. Tracy says there's a little paint blob in the right corner. Some people don't care about that kind of thing. Just wondering, when you say paint blob in the right corner, are you talking about that? The little circly thing there, or that little white thing there? That doesn't bother me at all because I know I can either cover it, use it. I'm so linear. Anytime a little blob like that comes, I'm actually okay with it. Because it's a little bit of a contrast, but you can get rid of it easily. You can get rid of it just by going over it with a little bit of opaque paint or scraping it back. The little ink blob looks like a heart. Thank you, artist. Okay. But those blobs do happen. Oh, that should be like a new rubber stamp. Blobs happen. Pam says, I love that little blob. I love it. And Annette, thank you. My fearlessness is inspiring. It's just taken me a long time to get to the place where I can just move through and not worry. And the more I don't worry, the better things look. All right, what are we going to do now? We're just going to make sure that this is dry. And this is so far all acrylic paint, so it's permanent. Thanks, Snail Mail. Says I need a notebook, so many great nuggets. Appreciate that. All right, where are we? Okay, it's 3:30. We're gonna go about 30 more minutes. Remember I said I wanted to do this, that, this, that, this. We'll see how far we actually get. But I want to move to use some dye sprays. If you don't know my dye sprays, they are dye sprays. They're dye ink in a spray bottle. There are some metallics that are shiny and bright, but most of them, all the ones that are metallics, are matte, which is my go-to. I designed these with Aladdin, French company. There's a question here, which I'll get back to in a moment. And thank you for all these lovely comments about the piece so far. The dye sprays, they're fast drying. They are kind of like Tim Holtz Distress ink pads. I always explain that to people because I think there may not be literally a human being in this entire earth that hasn't used a Tim Holtz Distress ink pad. One of my favorite products ever made. Happily say that. But you know what they do. They're not permanent. They're water soluble. You can blend them. You can do all these effects with water splatting. These work the same way because it's the same. It's a dye ink. They're translucent. It's just in this form. But I do need to make one public comment about these because people have asked. If you look online in my shop, you can see there's probably about half of the colors are available. And then the other half kind of say back ordered. Aladdin had a shift with bottling. If you've ordered them, you know sometimes you get bottles that are taller, shorter, smaller. They're all the same size in terms of amount, but they are different in terms of the bottles and supplier issues. And sadly, the last supplier, the bottle, nothing wrong with the, the supplier itself, but the inks started to clog. And one of the things, if you know, I present them as no clog. So I basically made the decision that all the ones coming in the new bottles were pulled off the market. And so a lot of the ones that are the most popular in a lot of ways, Gold Mine, the Bronze Shimmer, all the metallics, and some of the non-metallics like licorice, have not been manufactured for a few months now. And honestly, I even hate to say this out loud, it's unclear to me what will happen. So the company is exploring, but we're not going to put out a product that's a no clog product if it clogs. And anyone who's used dye sprays over the years know that most dye sprays clog. So I honestly do not know if this is the beginning of the end of these dye sprays. So if you're looking for those and waiting for those Gold Mine and all those some of the amazing ones, most of the ones that are out of stock in my shop, although there's a few that I was able to reorder, we may never have them again. Can't believe I'm saying that. So I'm saying that because it's true, and a lot of people keep asking, when am I getting them? When am I getting them? And then also just to suggest, perhaps if you want these, now might be a good time to get them. Can you get replacement sprayers? Well, the issue is, Faith, is I used to, on the rare times that they clogged, and for people who have had these for years, no, they didn't clog in the past, I would send an empty sprayer. But the issue now is that the bottles that are empty are the same bottles that cause the clogs. So you may have ones that won't clog, but I'm not going to sell one that will clog and expect you to have to find a bottle where it won't. And I agree with you guys who are talking about you need dye sprays because I need them too. Here's a question. Is there any difference between this ink and calligraphy with pen ink? I think there's lots of differences between inks. Any ink can be used. Inks tend to obviously be thinner than paints, but not every ink is a dye-based ink. and this dye-based ink means it's translucent. The calligraphy pen ink, obviously it needs to be thin enough to get through the nib, but it may not be quite as thin. It's hard. It's really hard to compare. Okay, but I'm still going to use these today, at least a little bit, and I'm going to use them to add a little bit of flair and flavor here. So I am going to bring in some of the rusty saffron to stick with some of these tones. I'm just going to do a few flicks like that. And then I'm going to bring in, let me bring in some sunflower. And these two are going to mix. And I'm going to get a little bit more of that orangey, rusty flavor. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead, and I'm just going to lay it out like that. And you can see what I've gotten there. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to brayer it in. Not everybody brayers it in, but I like to brayer it in. It dries it, and it kind of shifts it. And now I have this big pool right there. So let's just see what happens with that. You know, that's obviously going to bring in more, but I am going to spread it a little bit with that. It's going to mix. It's going to get be a little purpley. It's kind of going to almost feel like the Purple Majesty because it's mixing the colors. Let's just see. Let's just go for it like that. Oh yeah. And you can see, I think you can see it before and the after. Do you see how it's added some shadow and some depth? And it's also brought in a lot more warmth. Ardith, who's joining us after the initial explanation, this is Paper Artsy Smoothie cardstock. It's an incredible smooth cardstock. It's made in France. It's really quite a gorgeous paper. It's not like a traditional cardstock. This is 340 GSM, which is a heavier weight for background, and there's also 240 GSM for collage material. I got that. Now all that there is dried, so it's going to mix with whatever I put next, and I understand that. I am going to sort of honor that purple. I'm going to go in with some cassis, and I love the fact that in all you guys are sort of sharing your tips about using eyedroppers. And I'll give you a big tip right after this, if I remember. So I'm going to go in with that purple, and I don't know, let's just bring in a little bit of the underwater. It's going to shift some of this significantly. But you see why some of that white was important? It allows some of these translucent colors. Can you see it picked up sort of the spotting that you get from dye sprays, which you don't get unless you have a spray. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh, love that. Serious love. Yep, it's bringing a little bit of sort of grungy darkness there. There's a question here about other dye sprays, or I'm waiting to see what happens with Allergen and the dye sprays, and based on that, if I need to, I will explore other options to keep developing those. All right, I think I'm good with this. I think I'm going to stop here. We really have about 20 minutes left, so I do want to move on to a few other steps. So I am going to move this aside and focus on this. And I am going to clean my brayer. I don't often clean things, but my brayer is now filled with the dye spray. The dye spray is not permanent. So because it's not permanent, it means it's going to mix with whatever I put on it. And if I decide that I want to go with a white, I prefer a white. I don't want it to suck up all that color. However, I'm going to take a little detour because that's what I do. I do want to show you, see all that beautiful dye spray color? Let us not ignore that. Let's go to the heavy cream. This is a really kind of fun lesson. And I'm gonna get some black cardstock. This is traditional cardstock. It's not smoothie. And I am going to roll out my heavy cream over this. And what I want you to see is that the heavy cream is going to absorb the colors of the dye spray. The dye spray is going to serve almost like a pigment. And if you didn't know that, you can use these to pigment your paints. All right, so, and there's a few more questions here, which I promise I'll try to answer. I'm going to go in. I'm choosing a black cardstock because it's going to have a nice contrast to where the white shows through. Let's just see what happens. Now, this should not stay white. It should mix and pull up. You see that? It's like magic. It's going to pull up the colors underneath it. It's just a fun thing to do. I'm going to let it sit for 1 second while I take my brayer. And I know it's mostly pale, but I'm okay. I'm just going to start another journal page so I don't waste it. And now I'm going to pull a print. One of the things that I love to do with my dye sprays is to use them like watercolors. So maybe I'll take one more detour, get a brush. Fifi says she loves adding the dye sprays to texture paste. Yes, these dye sprays, think of them as sort of liquid color. They don't even need to be sprayed, but I'm not going to sell a spray that doesn't spray. That's a big issue. Cubist painting, I think you're talking about that. I thank you. All right, so let's just see if I'm not rushing this. Yep. You can see where the black and the white each come through. And you see there was white paint and just the dye sprays. And the dye spray makes for such a beautiful, soft coloring. So I think that's really quite beautiful. And I was even able to get a little bit of the chunky elements from the edges. This is a beautiful start to something. It's certainly not finished, but it's a nice way that I've gotten. So I've gotten this from my excess. I pulled that earlier from the excess. I've started 2 journal pages from the excess, and I got that. So we are here now. The last thing I want to show you before I do a little bit more with the actual demo is just the way I use these paints, these dye sprays. I just open the bottle. Of course, you know, you have that, so you can always just tap and splat. Like, who doesn't want to tap and splat, right? But more so, say, I will just use this as like it's a watercolor. You can see the beautiful coloration that you get. You definitely don't need to use the sprayer. I'm okay with mixing mine a little bit. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to just wipe it off. That was sunflower. I'm going to rusty saffron. I'm going to do a little bit of tapping. But mainly what I want to do is go in, and then I'm going to run that there. So I got my rusty saffron, but it's going to mix a little bit with and pull up that gorgeous sunflower, and it's going to shift it a little bit more orange. So definitely don't assume just because a designer said this is a spray that it needs to be a spray. All right, where am I? We got about 15 more minutes. Okay, so I am going to shift gears completely. I'm going to do some stenciling, which really was the last step. And I am going to, let's see, going to use this stencil. This is one of my newer ones from Stencil Girl. It's called Zigzag. And I'm going to add some detailing here. Now, when I work with stencils, I almost always work with opaque paints because usually, not always, but usually when I stencil, I want the design from the stencil to appear relatively strong. The other thing to note is that I'm adding another layer. And earlier I talked about this whole concept of layers are about contrast. So I ask myself one question when I become conscious as I'm working. And I'm going to ask you guys this question, so get ready to type. You should ask yourself, as an overall piece, is it dark or is it light? Sometimes it's half and half. You still got to make a choice. So I know from my eye, I see this as a very specific either dark or light. So I'm going to just ask you guys to tell me dark or light. There is no wrong answer because your eye may see it differently than my eye, and it's your art, and that's the important thing. And thank you guys. Several people said they bought this stencil. I appreciate it. It's quickly become a favorite. All right. And if everybody kind of says dark, or if everybody kind of says light, don't feel you can't say the opposite. Okay, we got mostly dark. Happily, we got a light, and we got another light, and some more darks. And somebody's saying they have the stencil. Thank you, thank you. Louise is saying she loves the pull on the black. Yeah, it's a good one, right? Don't forget about using black paper. Dark, but now both. Yeah, so if I just went there, maybe majority would say light. If I went there, maybe the majority would say black. But I'm getting a combo. I see it as dark. But again, that doesn't mean it's dark. I just see it as dark. So what I am going to do is I am going to use light for my stencil. But if you saw this as light, you're going to use some dark. And I'm going to do some mixing because I love this combination. And I think it would look gorgeous here. I want to get my heavy cream, which for me is the base of so much. You don't need much. That might even be too much. And I'm going to get Inky Pool because I love. Could you hear it in my voice that I really love? When you add the Inky Pool color to white. So there's lots of different ways to mix. I could mix with a palette knife. I could mix with a brayer, but I'm going to mix with a brush because I'm thinking of this as a palette. This brush may have a little bit of rusty saffron, so it might shift, but I just want you to see the color. I'm going to mix it over here. The color that you get when you mix these two. I mean, I probably should just make a blue this color, but I like to encourage people, to do some paint mixing. But I just personally, a lot of it's there. Let's see. I just personally absolutely love that color. And I think it would look nice on there. And it's light, but it's not stark by any means. So for my first pass with the stencil, I'm going to use that color. I'm going to get a sponge. I prefer these cosmetic sponges. They're inexpensive and they're very dense. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to do what I usually do. I'm going to start from an edge and I'm only going to use part of the stencil. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my sponge. I'm going to pounce it in. And then biggest lesson of all, you want to take a lot of that paint off because you don't want a thick, mucky acrylic paint because you won't get crisp lines. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to kind of go back and forth between pulling the paint up and taking it off and then just working my way in. Now, I think I might go, often I don't go consistent. You know what I mean? I just do like spots here and there, but I actually think I want to bring the stencil in pretty true to the way I designed it. And you know what? I could be pulling this up as I go just to make sure I'm getting what I want, but my preference always is just to be surprised. I'm just pulling this now from everywhere. Let's just dip in. Let's just dip in. Yeah, this is going to shade a little bit. And just be careful as you do this that the stencil doesn't lift, because this is really sticky. There's a question about dye sprays and matints. Dye sprays are not permanent. They're absolutely water soluble. Matints are permanent when they dry. They are transparent as you get. I'm going back in with a little bit of this white, so I get a little bit of a softer mottled look. Not M-O-D-E-L, but M-O-D-E-L, but M-O-T-T-L-E-D. Yeah, okay. And that's what I've got. Now I'm looking at that and I'm liking it because they kind of get lost in there. But I do want to go over it again because it's important for me that anything I add to a layer ends up being equally complex as what's the background. And so one of the things I want to do is I feel like I need it to pop a little bit more because I'm using a stencil. I can actually attempt to go back. So now I'm going to go in with another side of the sponge and I'm going to pull more of the white. There we go. And you see what I'm doing here? Do you see that whiteness? I'm going to do some very haphazard. This one I really don't want to be consistent. Oop, that might be a little too much. No, never too much. I'm just going to go in, quickly finish that up. And now you see we have that. So we have that level of inconsistency, which I actually think is really, really great. And the last thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to go in with an ink pad and I'm going to add and shift the color even more because I want that contrast. So I have some light. Now I need a little bit of dark. So I am going in, I'm going in, my friends. I'm going to get another sponge. I'm going to get these new ink pads that I'm obsessed with. They're Shashi. They are very popular because it took me ages to get them in my shop. I finally got them in my shop. I got a lot of them and they sold out instantly. Thrilled to say I reordered them twice because I put in a big reorder and then I thought I better even get more. The first one has shipped. It's coming from overseas. It might take a little while, but they will be back in the shop. But they're amazing. They're just amazing. And I'm going to go in, I'm going to replace that stencil. I think this might be the last thing we have to do. So I think have time to do. So I think we're going to have a part 2 of this demo. So you got to stay tuned for that. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to go in and I think I'm going to go in with, actually going with a little bit of black. Someone's probably saying, no. This is a fresh one. So it's going to be a little bit dark. So I'm pouncing it and then I'm taking it off. And I'm just going to go in and I'm going to dirty it and grungy it up. And the reason why I do that is because I don't want somebody to look at this design and say, oh, he used a stencil, or I have that stencil. I want this to just blend in and pop out of the background. I want it to be very organic looking. I don't want it to be solid. So I'm going to keep doing this just a bit. And then I'm going to show it to you. But I think actually I'm going to do one more color. This one I haven't even opened yet. This is like an eggplant. These ink pads, by the way, are oil and pigment based. So they stay wet for a long time without needing to re-ink, but they are, and they dry permanently, but they are also very beautiful off a plain white background. All right, I think I got, oh yeah, 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 yeah. Let's bring a little bit of that in. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, and then I'm gonna do one more thing because do they have an odor? Um, I'm gonna say yes. It is actually, as far as these kinds of pads, these all-base pads go, pretty subtle. Um, but I do know that people who are sensitive to odors, I may know if I even notice it, it's probably a little too strong. I'm just gonna shift this stencil just a tad. I'm gonna bump it to the right and up just a bit. So do you see those? It's not perfectly aligned. And in doing so, when I add a little bit of this to certain spots, I'm going to get a little bit of a light sourced shadow. I'm really not doing it consistently, so it's not going to be that obvious, but it's going to make it look a little bit more 3D. And I'm going to cap this, and then I'm going to show you what I got. And to me, adding all those layers of either ink from an ink pad or a dye, I could have done it from the dye sprays or from the paints. It just gives you this sense that it belongs to the background, not that it was added to the background. And of course, I'm going to work more and build more, and I probably use the stencil again, maybe in a few other places. And I do encourage you to hang out, not this moment, but hang out down the line because I am going to, I'll do another demo. Um, Maybe in 2 weeks. I'll have to just see what life is bringing me. But in 2 weeks from today, there will be March 11th. There will be the next Mixed Media Tuesday. We'll see if it can be a continuation. Um, and then the last thing I say is this has just got to be brightened and lightened. So I am definitely going to eventually work to make this um, something that you'll see a lot of popping off the background. Because for me, this still reads as very dark. And Kyle says he uses the pop, she uses the pop word. It still pops, but it's more integrated. All right, I'm going to shift to that camera. And just to finish up, I am going to say a few things. First of all, from the front facing camera, I want to show you what we've made together. So this is what we got so far. Janine is doing her job, which is an amazing job, saying that if you don't already belong to the Seth Apter Creator Community free group on Facebook, it's time to sign up. And I see over the course of this, a lot of people have signed up. I've seen the pop up on the computer. But in addition, I pulled that print. And when you think about it, this you wouldn't know it was from the same session, but it was. I pulled that print, which I adore. And then I'll show you once again, 2 journal pages, which will turn into something very different. I shared a lot of tips. I've sort of given you some insight into how my layered mind works. And I have so appreciated your attentive ability to stay focused on this. Some of you, I know, were working in the background. Some of you may have been doing other things and just listening. I'm hoping you pulled some nuggets and tidbits and techniques and tricks and tips out of this because there's a lot to pull out. And I hope that you come back for more, whether that's an online class that you actually have to pay for, whether it's some of my free demos that are ongoing on YouTube, whether it's some of my art salons, which if you don't know what those are, just stay tuned. You're going to hear more about some coming up, or seeing me in person in a class. I just want to see y'all. And I also want to give a big shout out and a thank you to Janine, who really, she works hard for her money. She does. I think she works harder than I do because she's got to work. I get to play and create with all you guys at the same time. Again, so appreciate you all, and I look forward to seeing you somewhere. Could be in my shop. It could be online, on Instagram, on Facebook. And for those of you who came late, just two quick things. One is I just want to share with you the wall, where we are with the wall. It's not done yet, but it's getting there. That is the fullest shot anybody's seen yet. Should be finished soon. And I want to just make mention that we're on the double now. And I just want to make mention that, by way of shameless self-promotion, a lot of the stuff that you saw here you can get from my shop at sethapter.com, but there's a whole bunch of new things that are coming. Some of them are in now. The newest designs, which are not that new, but the newest available release from 49er Market from one of their new designers, Dennis Burton, is in my shop as of late last night. But preview for those of you who stayed, and there's a lot of you who stayed, I decided to go in a little bit of a different direction with the product. And these are not live in the shop, but they will be live later today. From a studio called Get Messy Art. So I have a whole bunch of things, but the two things I want to show you are these books. So this is the collage book from Get Messy Art, and they call it a Get Messy idea book. It's a technique, idea, inspiration, interactive. It's really cool. But there's all these different lessons. There's 5 or 6 different lessons. There's instructions, there's tips, there's inspiration, there's blank pages to do stuff in. This is layering transparencies. This is all about collage. What's this one? Collage is expression. It's a gem. And then the other one is color. Shut the front door. Like, that's all. I'm sold. All I need is to see a swatch thing like that. This is so cool. All these different techniques and approaches to color. They're really well done. Yeah, now they're not in the shop yet. I have one of them ready to go live, but I'm in the middle of photographing and uploading the second one. That'll take me a little while. Plus, I got these. We're going to do a little reveal together because that's fun. And of course, if you have to go, please go. But I bought these months ago, and I just have not had a chance to get them online. But I also got these packets from them. I mean, just the packaging. I'm going to try to get these in tonight. If not tonight, tomorrow. I just remember their collage material, but it's been so long that I've been sitting on these. I don't even remember what it is. Ooh. And then I'll make mention about the flea market again. Oh, okay, this is really cool stuff because a lot of this stuff is on canvas. Embrace the messy middle. And it's on paper. It's just a collage segment. I'm thinking this is just probably small and the other one is large. But if you want to hang with me for a few more minutes, I'll show you. I just want to put it back together so that I don't lose anything from this kit. And this is the large one. I'm going to try to put these in the shop tonight, but it's going to require a little photography. So if not tonight, it'll be tomorrow. I know I can get more. Well, I believe I can get more because I think these are going to sell fast. Oh, okay. Look at these papers. Now I know why I bought these. Oh, man. I'm not showing them off very well. Oh, yeah, these are cool. Yeah, but it's the envelope that I like the most. So just keep popping in. I would give you a time, but I honestly just don't know if I'll be able to stick to it. So I'd rather not make a promise that I can't keep. So I am going to try later today or tomorrow, if not today. And then the announcements, just if you came late, tomorrow I am live on the Bella Crafts Publishing YouTube page. Maybe Janine can put a link. Bella Crafts Publishing. It's 3 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be kind of all things mixed media and an interview with Ann Butler, who's part of Bella Crafts. They're a great group and organization. If you don't know them, you should follow their page, but come in and listen to the interview live or on recording. And then 2 weeks from today, there is the next Mixed Media Tuesday live event on YouTube. I'm no longer out doing them on Facebook because Facebook is no longer storing live videos for more than a month. So we'll only be on YouTube. And it may be part 2 of demo today or not. And then the other thing is on the 7th, 8th, and 9th of March, I'm doing my first flea market of the year. I have been, between myself and Janine, we have been buying up a storm, sourcing up a storm, finding all these amazing treasures. They're really good ones. I mean, they're always good because we only find the best. That's what we want for you guys. But on the 7th, 8th, and 9th, there's daily drops at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. Eastern every day. There's going to be a YouTube live at 3 p.m. each of those 3 days. So I can share with you and show you what I got. There's going to be a sale on select items from the Emporium section of my online shop. And it's just like one big tent party. So if you didn't know about it, write it down. And I'll keep announcing it online. And I am actually signing off with a big thank you and a hug of appreciation to each and every one of you. How many times can I say I don't even know how fortunate I am to get to do what I do, but I am really happy that I do it with all of you. Be well, take care, see you soon. Thank you. Bye now.